What happens when corrupt cops pick the wrong man to harass? When their arrogance blinds them to the truth. Until it's too late. Tonight, we dive into a shocking story filled with suspense, action, and justice. Racist police harass black cop, shocked to discover he's their superior. But before we get into it, I have a question for you. Have you ever witnessed or experienced a situation where someone was judged unfairly based on appearance alone? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. Also, tell me where in the world you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. It's always amazing to see how far our stories reach, and if you love powerful storytelling, action-packed drama, and stories that expose the truth, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video so more people can see it. Now, sit back, relax, and get ready, because this story will keep you on the edge of your seat. Let's begin. The city streets were alive with the hum of sirens, the occasional honk of impatient drivers, and the chatter of pedestrians navigating the sidewalks. It was another busy evening in Westbridge, a town with a dark undercurrent hidden beneath its picturesque skyline. Officer Darius Cole had been on the force for nearly a decade, but tonight, he was about to experience something he never expected, being targeted by his own brothers in blue. Darius, a tall, muscular man with a clean-shaven head and sharp brown eyes, wore his civilian clothes, dark jeans and a leather jacket, because he had just come from an off-duty event. Despite being in casual attire, his instincts were always sharp. His years in law enforcement had taught him that danger. Darius took a deep breath, scanning the dimly lit streets of Westbridge as he adjusted his leather jacket. He had a feeling something was off. His gut, trained by years of experience, told him trouble was near. The air was thick with tension, a sensation he had learned to trust. As he approached his black Dodge Charger, parked under a flickering street lamp, the sound of screeching tires cut through the night. A police cruiser sped toward him, its red and blue lights bouncing off the buildings. The vehicle skidded to a halt, and 3 officers jumped out, hands on their holstered weapons, hands where we can see M. One of them barked. Darius narrowed his eyes, raising his hands slowly. He recognized the men, Officers Bradley, Kincaid, and Torres. They were known around the department for their heavy-handed tactics, and their reputation for racial profiling wasn't exactly a secret. Do we have a problem? Darius asked, his voice even but firm. Bradley, a burly white cop with a thick beard, smirked. Yeah, we do. You fit the description of someone we're looking for. Darius tilted his head. That's so. And what's the description? Kincaid, a tall, lean officer with cold blue eyes, took a step closer. A black male, 6 feet, wearing a leather jacket. Darius exhaled sharply, shaking his head. You're really gonna pull that one? Torres, the youngest of the 3, seemed uncertain, but he followed the lead of the other 2, gripping his baton. Better cooperate, he muttered. Bradley reached for Darius's jacket. Turn around, hands on the car. We're gonna check you for weapons. Darius clenched his jaw. He had spent years fighting against the very thing that was happening to him now. He could have flashed his badge, but something told him they wouldn't care. Instead, he decided to see how far they were willing to go. Let's not make this hard, Bradley said, pushing Darius against the car. The moment Bradley's hand touched his shoulder, Darius reacted. With lightning-fast reflexes, he spun, grabbing Bradley's wrist and twisting it backward. The officer let out a grunt of pain as his knees buckled. Kincaid went for his gun. Darius didn't hesitate. He slammed Bradley into him, knocking both men to the ground. Torres yanked out his baton and swung, but Darius ducked, driving an elbow into the younger officer's ribs. Torres staggered back, gasping. Darius stepped away, raising his hands again. You want to tell me what this is really about? Bradley groaned, struggling to his feet. His eyes were full of rage. You're gonna regret that. Before Darius could respond, another squad car screeched onto the scene. More officers poured out, weapons drawn. Darius sighed. Things were about to get messy. Darius stood still, his heartbeat steady despite the circle of officers forming around him. His training kicked in, analyzing every movement, every angle, calculating his next step. The streetlights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the pavement. Bradley, his pride bruised from the earlier takedown, wiped blood from his lip and sneered. Now you're really in for it. Darius exhaled, keeping his hands in sight. You sure you want to do this? Kincaid, still shaken from the impact of being thrown to the ground, regained his footing and aimed his gun at Darius's chest. "Get on your knees, now." Darius's jaw tightened. He could take them if he had to, but drawing his own weapon here would turn the situation into a bloodbath. "He had to be smart," I said, "on your knees." Kincaid shouted, stepping closer. The surrounding officers, at least 6 now, tightened their grips on their weapons. Some looked uncertain, but none spoke up. Darius moved slowly, lowering himself, keeping his eyes locked on Kincaid. He needed to buy time. Let them make a mistake. Torres, still clutching his ribs, muttered, "Shouldn't we check his ID first?" Bradley shot him a glare. "Shut up, Torres." Darius took the opening. "That's a good idea, Torres. You should check my wallet." "Right pocket." Kincaid scoffed. "Nice try." Bradley grinned. "Maybe we should just skip to the part where we teach you a lesson." Darius's muscles tensed. That was all he needed to hear. Before Kincaid could react, Darius lunged forward, slapping the officer's gun hand aside. The firearm discharged, a deafening blast echoing through the night. A bullet shattered a nearby car window, sending glass raining onto the pavement. Darius spun, striking Kincaid's wrist with precision, forcing the gun from his grip. It clattered to the ground. In the same motion, he grabbed Kincaid by the collar and threw him backward into Bradley. Both men crashed into a nearby trash bin. The other officers hesitated, stunned by Darius's speed. Torres fumbled for his radio. "Officer down. Officer down." Darius backed up, raising his hands again. "Call in the whole department if you want. But you'll regret this." Bradley scrambled to his feet, pulling his backup gun. His face twisted in fury. "You're dead, punk." Before he could fire, headlights flooded the street as another car roared in. A black SUV skidded to a stop. Darius smirked. Reinforcements had arrived, but not the ones Bradley was expecting. The doors flew open. The night was about to explode. The black SUV's doors burst open, and out stepped 2 men in tactical gear, their movements precise and disciplined. Darius recognized them instantly, Detective Marcus Hayes and Sergeant Phil Dawson, both veterans in the force and men he trusted with his life. Bradley, Kincaid, and the others stiffened. They hadn't expected backup to arrive, at least, not for Darius. "What the hell is going on here?" Hayes barked, his deep voice carrying authority. He scanned the tense scene, his sharp eyes moving from the drawn weapons to the shattered glass. Darius remained still, letting the situation unfold. Bradley, still gripping his backup gun, pointed at Darius. "This guy attacked us. He resisted arrest." "He?" Dawson scoffed. "You serious? Darius Cole attacked you?" Kincaid, still on the ground, wiped blood from his mouth. "Yeah. Dawson cut him off. "Put the damn guns down before you do something even dumber." For the first time, hesitation flickered across the officers' faces. They were used to throwing their weight around, but Hayes and Dawson weren't meant to be ignored. Bradley clenched his jaw, but after a long pause, he lowered his gun. Kincaid and the others followed suit. Darius finally spoke. "Mind explaining why I was being harassed?" Bradley scoffed. "You fit the description of a suspect." Hayes stepped forward, arms crossed. "That right? You ran an ID check?" Silence. Dawson smirked. "Didn't think so." Torres, still shaken, finally blurted out, "We didn't know who he was." Bradley turned on him. "Shut up, Torres." But it was too late. The words hung in the air like a ticking time bomb. Darius took a step forward, looking directly at Bradley. "You didn't know who I was." His voice was calm, but there was steel beneath it. Kincaid, still defiant, sneered. "What does it matter? You're just another." A loud crack split the night. Gunfire. Everyone reacted instantly, ducking for cover as bullets whizzed through the air. Sparks flew from the metal of nearby cars as rounds ricocheted off the surfaces. "Sniper!" Hayes shouted. Darius rolled behind the SUV, drawing his sidearm in a fluid motion. His instincts kicked in, scanning the rooftops. He spotted the faint outline of a shooter perched on a nearby building. More gunshots erupted. Dawson and Hayes fired back, forcing the attacker to retreat. Bradley and his crew, now panicked, scrambled for cover, completely out of their depth. Darius's mind raced. Who the hell was targeting them? And why now? No time for questions. Only action. He locked eyes with Hayes. I'm going up. Hayes nodded. We'll cover you. Darius took off, moving fast, bullets still flying. The real fight was just beginning. Darius sprinted toward the nearest fire escape, his boots pounding against the pavement as more bullets rained down from above. The sniper wasn't just some amateur, whoever it was had training. The shots were precise, aimed to suppress and control, not just spray bullets wildly. Hayes and Dawson returned fire, forcing the shooter to momentarily retreat. Bradley, Kincaid, and the other officers were pinned down, their arrogance replaced by sheer terror. Darius launched himself up the metal ladder, climbing swiftly as his muscles burned. He reached the rooftop edge and rolled over just as another shot cracked through the air, barely missing his shoulder. The sniper was on the adjacent building. Reloading. Darius didn't hesitate, he took off running, leaping across the gap between the rooftops. He hit the ground in a roll, gun raised, eyes locked on the masked gunman. The sniper spun, raising their rifle, but Darius was faster. He fired 2 shots, one striking the rifle, knocking it away, the other grazing the shooter's shoulder. The attacker staggered but didn't go down. Instead, they lunged, drawing a combat knife from a sheath strapped to their thigh. Darius barely dodged the first slash, the blade whistling past his chest. He countered with a quick jab, landing a solid punch to the sniper's ribs. The attacker grunted but recovered fast, spinning into a roundhouse kick. Darius blocked, absorbing the impact, then drove forward, slamming his shoulder into the sniper and sending them sprawling. Before the shooter could react, Darius pressed his knee into their chest and yanked the mask off. His breath caught. A woman. Mid-30s. Sharp blue eyes, short black hair, and a scar running down her left cheek. Who sent you? Darius demanded, pressing his gun against her temple. She smirked, blood dripping from her lip. You think this ends tonight? Darius's grip tightened. Talk. A single gunshot rang out from below. The woman's body jerked violently. Blood splattered across Darius's shirt. He spun around, eyes darting to the street below. Bradley stood there. Gun smoking. No loose ends, he muttered. Darius clenched his teeth. He had just lost his only lead, and now, he had bigger problems. Bradley and his crew weren't just racist cops, they were covering something up, and they were willing to kill to keep it buried. Darius's pulse pounded as the sniper's lifeless body slumped against the rooftop. The woman had been his only lead, and Bradley had just silenced her permanently. From the street below, Bradley lowered his smoking gun, his face void of any regret. Kincaid and the others exchanged uneasy glances, realizing that their situation had spiraled out of control. Hayes and Dawson reacted instantly. What the hell did you just do? Hayes roared, his gun snapping up to aim at Bradley. Bradley smirked, unfazed. I just saved us the trouble of an interrogation. Darius clenched his fists. He had to act fast. Bradley was covering something up, and if he and his crew were willing to kill for it, they wouldn't hesitate to turn their guns on him next. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called for backup. Darius stood, gripping his pistol as he turned back to the others below. Drop your weapons. Now. Bradley laughed. Or what? You gonna take us all on? Darius's jaw tightened. If I have to. Kincaid, still shaken, took a nervous step back. Bradley, maybe we should. Bradley whipped around. Shut up, Kincaid. We finish this now. Dawson cut in. You fire that gun again, you're done. But Bradley wasn't listening. He suddenly raised his weapon toward Darius. Darius moved on instinct. A single shot rang out. Bradley's gun flew from his grip as Darius's bullet hit true. Striking the weapon and sending it spinning to the pavement, Bradley howled in rage, clutching his hand. You son of a... Before he could finish, Darius leapt from the rooftop, landing hard on a parked car, denting the hood. He rolled off, gun raised. Enough. Everyone froze. Even the night air seemed to hold its breath. Bradley seethed, but for the first time, there was uncertainty in his eyes. The approaching sirens grew louder, flashing lights reflecting against the buildings. More police were coming, but Darius wasn't done yet. He stepped forward, standing between the corrupt officers and the approaching backup. This is over, he declared. You're all done. Bradley, blood dripping from his busted lip, smirked. You think so? You really think you're gonna walk away from this clean? Darius stared him down. I don't think. I know. The first patrol cars skidded to a stop. Doors flew open, officers poured out, weapons drawn. Darius took a breath. The moment of truth had arrived, and the next few minutes would change everything. The street exploded into chaos as uniformed officers surrounded the scene, their weapons raised, their eyes darting between Darius, Bradley, and the others. Flashing red and blue lights bathed the area in an eerie glow, the air thick with tension. Drop your weapons. One of the responding officers shouted. Darius, still gripping his gun, slowly raised his free hand. I'm Lieutenant Darius Cole. Badge number 7429. Stand down. Confusion rippled through the ranks of arriving officers. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Lieutenant. One officer whispered to another, Bradley's face contorted in panic. Don't listen to him. He attacked us. Shut your damn mouth, Bradley, Hayes barked. You've done enough damage. The commanding officer of the responding unit, Captain Riley, stepped forward, his hand on his holstered sidearm. His sharp eyes scanned the scene, the broken glass, the wounded sniper on the rooftop, and the blood still dripping from Bradley's busted lip. Then, his gaze settled on Darius, Lieutenant Cole. Riley's voice was careful. Can you explain what the hell is going on here? Darius took a deep breath. This was it. The moment of reckoning. These officers, he said, motioning to Bradley, Kincaid, and their crew, harassed and assaulted me without cause. They refused to identify themselves properly and escalated the situation into a firefight. Riley's eyes flickered to Bradley. Is this true? Bradley's bravado cracked. He stammered, I didn't know who he was. Darius's lips curled into a cold smile. That's the problem, isn't it? You assumed, Bradley. You thought I was just another black man you could intimidate. The officers around them shifted uncomfortably. The truth was hitting hard. Kincaid, realizing they were done for, tried to backpedal. It was a misunderstanding. We didn't, Darius cut him off. You didn't follow protocol. You didn't check identification. You profiled me and acted on your biases. And now, you're caught. Riley exhaled slowly. Is that all? Darius shook his head. No, Captain. Bradley also just shot and killed a suspect before she could be taken into custody. That sealed it. Riley's expression darkened. He turned to the surrounding officers. Disarm them. Now. The command was swift. Within seconds, Bradley, Kincaid, and the others were stripped of their weapons and badges. Bradley snarled as an officer pulled his gun from his holster. You can't do this. Oh, I can, Riley said coldly. And I will. Darius stepped forward until he was inches from Bradley's face. I don't need a badge to take you down, Bradley. But lucky for me, I have one anyway. Bradley's eyes widened with the crushing realization, Darius wasn't just another officer, he was their superior. Their boss. Their careers were over, and the last thing Bradley saw before he was shoved into the back of a squad car, was the smirk on Darius's face. Wow. What a wild ride. Did you see that twist coming? Those corrupt cops thought they had the upper hand, until they realized they were messing with their own superior. Justice was served, but what do you think? Did they get what they deserved, or should more have been done? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so more people can experience these powerful stories. And before you go, tell me where in the world you watched from and what time it is for you right now. It's always amazing to see how far our community reaches. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.